the convener for this session. We have 3 papers and all the presenters are here. The first one is Alexander Hodek with Jacqueline Tuchel and Luisa Hente. With the paper, The Typical Nature Sports Tourist, Characteristics of 5 Different Types of Active Nature Sports Tourists in Germany. You have 20 minutes for each presentation. Please, Alexander, and the others.
Yes, of course. I say hello to all of you. Thank you for inviting us and presenting a paper which we already had prepared for last year's session. So we are happy to present our investigation today. Unfortunately online, but we are sure we will meet us hopefully in the next year or the next time also, not only in digital way, but in present. So today I will present for the group of our 3 researchers. We have done, let's say, some investigations before the time of COVID-19 in the years 2018 and also 19, in the winter and summer season. We were investigating some different types of nature sports tourists and were asking, is it possible to compare them? So maybe just to say it more precisely, is there a typical nature sport tourist, and how can this tourist be described? Therefore, we used some methods coming from the marketing researchers, and I will just give you a short or some short ideas about our little project, and with a very classical defined presentation, starting with a short introduction and then going on through the whole aspects. So I think I don't need to speak too much about nature sport tourism, as our well-known colleague and very good colleague Ricardo Melo will give us a keynote tomorrow in the morning, I think, and there he will speak even more in detail about this special kind of sport tourism. So I was doing some research over the last years about nature sport tourism, and typical for nature sport tourism is, as the name says, doing the sport activities in the nature, in a natural surrounding. Normally it's done in non-urban surroundings. So we heard already this morning about the events in the Azores, for example, which is also coming along with nature sports tourism. So I think it's quite interesting in the field of sports tourism to deal with that topic, as it is, as I would say, suitable for almost all destinations. Just every destination has its specific natural resources where we can be active. We can do hiking, trail running, biking, climbing, skiing, water sports, and so on and so on. And there is let's say, a very large number of different kinds of nature sports tourism, and we were dealing with 5 different types in our research. And as there is, let's say, quite a difference in what those sports tourists are doing and how they are doing that and where they are doing that, so we decided if we want to bring them together, we need to have some theoretical basis more in general. And there we decided to talk about motivation, as the motivation is something internal that arouses and directs and integrates the person's behavior, and finally also what the person is doing in his or her vacation and which kind of sports you want to do there and so on. But motivation is also suitable just to compare them, because we know already from several literature in sports tourism that motivation is suitable for dealing with sports tourists and work on them. So I just put some, let's say, well-known literature to there where we can have a look, push and pull factors, for example, but also the papers of the colleagues dealing with different types of motivation in the field of sports tourism. As we are from Germany, and the tourism sector in Germany is also well established, and also the research in the field of tourism is well established. We came back to the so-called German travel analysis, which is analyzing tourists in Germany since the 1970s, and there is a kind of portfolio of motivations. And this German travel analysis developed the numbers of motivational factors of German tourists now, let's say, almost 50 years. And of course, there is also something coming along with sports and being active in during your holiday. So we decided to use this travel motivations, which have been gathered to 6 factors, for example, or 7 factors to be sure, in the year 2013 from this institution doing analysis of travel of the German tourists. And so this was the basis for our little investigation, as we only asked German sports tourists. So we came back to this theoretical basis. And why did we do this? Yes, Mike Wheat said already in 2014 that, of course, sports tourism can contribute to a sustainable local development, but for that we need just to understand what sports tourists are thinking, how do they make their decisions, and what they are doing, and so on. So this is a very important question, I think, not only for our work, but for the field of sports tourism in general, and I think also for the IRNIST research network. They have discussed that a lot already. And in our case, so as I told you before, we're coming from a perspective of marketing. So we said, okay, we will try to segment sports tourists based on their motivation, and then have a look if there is a typical sports tourist, or at least if we can identify some personas which may help us to understand the nature sports tourists from different kind of sports. And in a second step, or an ongoing step, the research aim could also be just to develop marketing strategies. So if we can identify typical types of sports tourists, maybe we can then create more suitable and sustainable marketing strategies in different destinations, dealing with the same strategy, for example, for different types of sports tourists in summer, winter time, and so on and so on. So this is the main idea of our paper. And what have we done? As I already said, we asked 5 different types of sports tourists. We did this with on-site interviews on the places where we could identify the typical tourists. For example, we went to skiing stations, or we went to a surf spot, and so on and so on. We used the method of area sampling. So we in advance we made up the date and the places where we wanted to do our research, and then we went over there with a team of students, and they did the interviews. in that time, and they just asked in that certain time all the people doing kind of sports over there. So we used, of course, the standardized questionnaire, and regarding the motivation, as I said before, we used the motivation factors coming from the German travel analysis. And yeah, after gathering the data, we did some methods coming from the field of marketing. So we did a cluster analysis in the second step before we reduced the number of motivational factors by a factor analysis. And yeah, just because of the time, I'm coming directly to the results. And before I go in deep to the results, just some idea about our sample. So we had 5 different types of sports tourists: hikers, trail runners, mountain bikers, kite surfers, and ski tourers. I think you know what they are all doing. Ski touring is, as I would say, the most special thing. This is just going not down the hill, but up the hill, let's say, and then just going with your skis through the nature in the high mountain areas, for example. And from each group, we try to get almost 100 participants, sometimes more, sometimes less. Altogether, we could interview 548 sports tourists with an average age of almost 40 years. And yeah, as often we can see more male participants than female participants, but regarding other studies, I would say this is just normal in that area. So this is the sample. And then, as I told you, we had a number of motivational factors. And first of all, just to reduce them a little bit, we did the factor analysis and could create finally 4 factors. And the factor analysis with an rotation, Varimax rotation was quite good, I would say. And we could also just name the identified factors very well. So we had to refuel power and relax on the one side. On the other side, I would say do sports in nature, then experience something with your friends or together or something, and then just enjoy new or other things outdoor. So we named those factors by our own. And on the second step, we did a cluster analysis. In this paper, we used a k-means clustering. That means we had a look on different numbers of clusters and analyzed, let's say, the results and checked them about how suitable they are and so on, and how are the groups, for example, the clusters are comparable. So this is quite common, and we said, okay, we check between 2 and 6 clusters as this is normally, and finally we could decide that the 4 cluster solution is the most suitable one. And based on the motivation, we could just name afterwards the whole sample, or not the whole sample, but we could identify the 4 clusters and just describe the 4 clusters as outdoor sports tourists, because for them they enjoy doing things outside, and of course they want to relax even more, and of course all of them, they want to do sports. We had so-called one did all sports tourists, because they said everything is important for us, all 4 factors are important for us. Some of them are just experiencing the nature together with others. And then we had one quite interesting cluster. This is the third one here, the smallest cluster. We called it in a first step other motivated tourists, because in all 4 factors they are below the average of the whole sample, and so for first analyze we had to say maybe they are motivated by other things we might have not thought about. So this is something we have to think of when going more in detail with the data, or yeah, maybe you have ideas how to deal with that. So this was just preparation for our idea, if we can identify a typical sports tourist or not based on motivation. And so what did we then? In the second step, we had a look to the clusters. Are there differences between the clusters, not only regarding the motivation, but also regarding social demographic aspects and the kind of sport, for example. And first of all, we saw that there is no statistical correlation between cluster and gender, but there is a correlation between which cluster one sports tourist belongs and which kind of sports he or she is doing in the vacation. And we did a kind of chi-square analysis. Sorry for not translating that. Chi-square analysis, and we saw that in some clusters we have more than expected sports tourists from one kind of sports, that is what I marked here green. So for example, ski tourers, we see that outdoor sports tourists, we could identify 53 outdoor sports tourists doing ski touring, but the expectation from the statistical side was only 32.8. And we had, for example, others where we could see that there are less identified sports tourists than expected. And therefore we can see that maybe there is not really a typical sports tourist regarding the kind of sports what they are doing. But if I change it a little bit, we can see that there are some let's say some interesting ideas. For example, we can see that the ski tourers, so now I only marked where we could see more tourists than expected. We can see that the outdoor sports tourists are coming from ski touring and trail running. The one did all tourists, for example, they are mountain bikers or hikers, also some trail runners over there. And we can see that the kite surfers, which is the only type of nature sport tourists we have from the, let's say, water sports area, is that type which is surprisingly or interestingly in the area of the so-called other motivated sports tourists. So I will come back to this a little bit later. We can now first of all see that there are some typical kind of sports in some of the clusters, and we also checked other data, social demographic data, and also travel behavior and so on regarding the clusters, where we can see that, for example, there is a statistical difference regarding the age. Those tourists, other motivated sports tourists, they are a little bit younger than the others, and those who want to relax a little bit more, they are also a little bit older than the others. Regarding also the travel distance, we can see some differences, and also interestingly again, those doing kite surfing, maybe because of the very special area and kind of sports. Remember, I told you these are especially the kite surfers, they travel more distance and so on. On the other side, they stay a shorter time, although the differences regarding the length of stay are not significant, but we can at least see that, or discuss interestingly that although they travel more, they stay shorter, which is not very common. Normally we have this situation, the longer way you travel, the longer you stay. And also regarding the money they spend per day, we can see that all types of sport, nature sport tourists are quite interesting, as they are spending almost 70 euros per day in a destination, which is for some of the very rural destinations a quite good number. For example, we checked the expenditures of the hiking tourists in the region where we asked about hiking, which is a highland destination in Germany, and there is the normal daily expenditure of a tourist is less than 60 euros. So it's quite an attractive kind of target group we are addressing when we are talking about nature sports tourists. So these are some first impressions to our results, which need to be discussed really intensively, and we are on the way of discussing what we found here, and we are also discussing maybe doing another analysis, not with the clusters, but only with the types of sport, and then we would like to see if there are more or less differences, and if it's really sensible to do a segmentation based on motivation among among these 5 types of sports tourists. We can see that it's possible, but we have to see in another step or to discuss if it's sensible to do that. From my side, I would say, yeah, I think it's quite interesting, because we can see that there are at least some interesting similarities regarding different types of sports tourists, and they have the same motivations. Yeah, we have the same clusters where we can find different types of sports tourists, and that would lead us to the basic idea of developing marketing strategies, for example, which are suitable, of course, for more than one tourist. So if we have the hikers and the skiers, for example, then it's perfect for a sustainable destination, because we can address with the same strategies people in different seasons in one destination, and that could be really interesting. So not only, of course, it's sensible to look on every kind of sports in the field of sports tourism, but from my side, it would be very interesting just to bring those similarities between different types of sports tourists more together. I would say we are at the beginning with that. We have some interesting data, and we would like to work on that more. Of course, we have to see the shortcomings of our work. So we only had a look to German-speaking tourists, and as we did only bring German questionnaires, and in almost all the destinations we asked, there were also, for example, Czech people or English-speaking tourists, which would be, of course, also interesting. So we have to work on that. It could also be interesting to have more than one kind of water sport tourist within the work, and of course, it would maybe also be interesting to have a more, let's say, more detailed look on the personas which we could create. So who is that cluster type for? Is it a female or more male, and so on? And so I think there is a lot of work to do, but the idea was to present to the audience and to our fellow colleagues what we are doing at the moment, and that we are of course open for the further development of that. So we would like to understand the nature of sports tourists more, and therefore we of course need to gather more data. And if you have questions or ideas how we could continue our work, or maybe also some new ideas what we might have not thought about, I would be happy if you contact me, or of course my colleagues, which you will hear within that session at the end in the third presentation again. For now, I would say thank you for listening, and of course I'm looking forward for your questions and ideas and remarks.
Thank you for your great presentation, Alexander. And now, if there is any questions, please. Nobody? I have one. You have a distribution 35 female, 65 male.
Yeah.
And do you have about the same distribution, for example, for mountain biking, not grouped in clusters, just a simple?
Yeah. Mountain bike, for example, for mountain biking, I have to look up. What I can see is that among the ski tourers, the male participants or the part of male participants is much higher. So yeah, the ski tourers, I think there were almost 80% male, and mountain bikers, among the mountain bikers, there were at least more female participants, but I don't have the exact numbers, but if you're interested, I can.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Other question, please?
If not, I'm just hoping that you are just writing me an email.
So thank you very much. And the next presentation will be gender differences in the profile and habits of outdoor activity practitioners by Laura Martin Talavera, University Politecnica of Madrid, and Lazaro Mediavilla Saldana, the same university. Please.
Hello, everybody. Can you see the presentation? Okay.
Yes. Yes, please, you can start.
Hello, everybody. My name is Laura Martin, and I'm going to present a study carried out in the Institute Nacional of Physical Education in Madrid about gender difference in the profile and habits of practitioners of outdoor activities. To present the study, I will make an introduction to the subject, talking about outdoor activities and their evolutions in the society, and also about the female practice on this type of modalities that are development in the nature. Later, I will tell how the study carried out, and I will show some results found that have been more significant. Finally, I will present the conclusions of the study. Today, adventure sports have gone from being minority sport to emerging disciplines. They used to be barely known and practiced, and now they are booming in the society and have an increasing number of practitioners every year. Since the 80s, physical activity in the nature has undergone development for diversity reasons. Among these reasons, them are, for example, the increase in available free time, or, for example, an unstable culture of leisure and the emergence of new lifestyles. Other reasons, for example, are an increase in the tolerance of level of risk in order to restore emotions to life, and the fast and effective evolution of techniques and materials providing greater security in the activities. The last reason, for example, is a great development of the infrastructure, because now it's easier to access to the mountain to practice some activities in this area. In order to talk about the gender variable has a decisive influence on the social structure of sport. Fewer women than men are physically active, and the way of relating in the sport space is very different between female and male groups. In this way, outdoor activities are not unaffected by these factors, and today gender stereotypes can still be felt in outdoor activities, as there are still sexist cultural determinants that influence the practice of this type of activities. Studies that have analyzed gender in relation to sport show difference in the type of physical activity or sport practice, like frequency, intensity, type of organization, motivations, or expectations. In addition, different studies have investigated the reasons why women do less physical active in general. Specifically within the world of nature, the interviews carried out by Mazza, that is a Spanish research, show some reasons for the lower participation of women in outdoor activities. Some of the reasons are, for example, the lack of confidence in their physical abilities and their ability to have success in this type of sport. Also, the perception of not being strong enough to do this type of activities, because sometimes the person to practice this sport have to be strong or have some abilities to carry out this type of modalities. Other reason is, for example, the lack of female role models in the nature and the interpretations in the social media that physical activities in outdoor are only for a man, more or less. A study carried out in 2010 analyzed the perception of the opposite gender among mountain activities practitioners. The study shows the existence of two different identities in natural sport, the identity of the man and identity of the woman. The result obtained in this research made it possible to generate an idea of the cultural determinant that influence when it comes to physical outdoor activities. However, although the number of women in the nature is still lower than of the men, nowadays more and more girls are taking part in outdoor sport. Despite this increase in female participations, there are still quantitative and qualitative gender difference in terms of the practice of physical outdoor activities. For these reasons, this paper focus on physical activities from a gender perspective in order to analyze whether there really are difference between a woman and a man. For this, the objective of the study is the first to analyze the profiles of those practicing outdoor activities according to gender. And the second objective is to analyze the characteristics of the practice and habits, identifying the possible existing gender difference. In order to carry out this study, the study sample consists of a total of 156 participants. All of these residing in Spain. They are over 16 years old and who practice, obviously, outdoor activities. Of the total number of participants, 96 are men and only 60 were women. The selection of the sample was carried out by random sampling. The methodology followed for the development of the research consists of a survey. A questionnaire was used as an instrument for data collection. A survey was carried out in the National Park of Sierra de Guadarrama in Madrid. The survey has 3 blocks. The first blocks consist on socio-demographic data like sex, age, country, education level, employment situation, or disability. The second block on sporting habits and security in relation to practice outdoor activities. And the last one was focused on the characteristic of the use the nature to practice sports. For the quantitative analysis, that is the final phase in the research, the data were analyzed with the versions 25.0 of SPSS software. Descriptive statistical analysis and inferential statistical analysis techniques were carried out to evaluate the data according to the gender of the participant. This allowed us to see if they differed significantly from each other between female and male groups. An exploratory analysis of the data where the basic descriptive statistics were calculated. These basic descriptive statistics were frequency and percentage. And in the inferential analysis consists of the application of the Pearson chi-square test of independence for qualitative variables. Now that I have explained how the study was carried out, I will now present some of the results. Starting with the profile of practitioners, as can we see in the table, the age distribution of the sample and the fact of having or not having a federative license of the modality of sport were independent of gender. However, significant differences were found in the level of education of the participants and their tendency to join to mountain clubs. With regard to the academic studies of the participants in the study, it was observed that among the women, 55% had a bachelor degree, 26% have a postgraduate degree, and 13% had studied a professional training. In the case of men, only 42% were university degree, 19% had a professional qualification, and only 14% had a master's degree. Within the block of activities practice for men and women, the participants in the study had to select in the questionnaire all those activities that they usually carry out when they went to nature to practice sport. For those differences were observed according to the gender only in the following modalities. alpinism, mountain bike, trail running, orienteering, and do picnic. The result shows that women choose more accessible activities such as hiking, mountaineering, climbing, picnic, or camping. Because in more committed and demanding modalities, like ice climbing or alpinism or canyoning, the participation of men is higher than of women. Although difference can be seen in this table, in the reason for doing outdoor activities according to gender, the data analysis shows that no significant gender difference were found when it comes to mentioning the reason why the practitioners carry out the activities in nature. But with regard to the company with which the participant carry out these activities, based on the result obtained, a moderate association was observed between gender and the fact of going alone in the nature and practice these activities with a monitor or a guide, an instructor or a guide. Therefore, the main conclusion we have be able to draw from the study are the following. From the results, we can highlight the fact that the proportion of women who carry out activities is in the nature is still lower than that of men. In regard to the profile of the practitioners, in terms of the age of the participants, both the male and female groups were mainly between 16 and 50 years old. However, with regard to the education level of the participant of this type of activities, the woman reported a higher level of education than a man. And finally, from a gender perspective, it is possible to appreciate in relation to the practice of outdoor activities, their habit and characteristic that the result of this study shows the existence difference between men and women in relation to choice of activities, the reason for choosing different place to practice these activities, the way in which they are organized, and the group with which they prefer to go to practice these activities. So this is all my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Laura. And now the questions, please. Is there anybody who puts questions? So if not, maybe it's me. So do you think to extend the study to a bigger sample? Because I think it's not very statistical significant, and it's not enough participants in this study. And
yes, okay, sorry.
Yes. Maybe you calculate how many you need for a good sample. And another question is, or not question, maybe remark, is that concerning the statistics, because you say you calculated here the chi-square, but chi-square, it depends, you apply this one only if you have nominal variables, but here age, for example, and the level of education, it's not nominal, it's ordinal, and you have another coefficients you must apply in your study. For example, if you go to the slide with the quantitative analysis, I don't know which number is.
This?
Yes. Look at the table you have at the window in SPSS. You have for ordinal another coefficients at the right side.
Yeah.
It's not only phi and the grammar. Yes, you have another coefficients if you have ordinal and if you have a combination between.
Okay.
So, because it's possible to have different results. I don't know what you obtain, but it's possible to have different results.
Okay.
So
I take it into account.
Thank you. Another questions or remarks? Thank you very much, Laura.
Thank you.
And now is the last presentation of this session. Is Jacqueline Tuchel from Germany, Luisa Hente, and Alexander Hodek, again, from the same university, Chemnitz University of Technology, with the paper Expectations of Egyptian and German Sports Tourists, Independence of Destination and the Travel Companions. Please.
Yes, thank you for introducing me or us. I want to present you some of our results. I made a study together with my colleagues Luisa Hente and Alexander Hodek, who was speaking at the first presentation. So yeah, let's start with a very short introduction. As we already know, the motivation and the expectations of tourists are individual and therefore particularly diverse. So there are many studies already which show that, for example, the expectations of holidays in one's home country differ from those in another country, and also studies, for example, which show that travel companions also has an influence on the desires of the trip. So since people can travel almost everywhere in the world, the competition is harder and harder. So it is more important that the suppliers have an up-to-date knowledge about the needs and the motivations of their customers and the new trends. So this leads us to the three main questions of our study. The first one is, what expectations do German and Egyptian travelers have with regard to the accommodation and the food, the activities and meeting new people, and what fears and doubts and reservations accompany them. The second one is, in which way do individual ideas differ from those in different travel companionships? Here we choose, for example, the friends, partner and kids, and the grandmother. I will explain it later on. And the third question is, what are the differences between the various target destinations, and what differences can be identified between the Germans and the Egyptians? As you maybe know, Germany and Egypt are very different countries. For example, when you see the different income, the different size of families, the age of the population, and so on, but also in the cultural aspects, there are many differences. Hofstede, for example, he showed it in his studies. And we know already that the more different the cultural background is, the greater is the risk of misunderstanding. So I want to say it again. It is very important that the tourism providers know about this, know their guests, their customers, to make interaction comfortable as possible. So on the right side, you can see the structure. So we asked Germans and Egyptian people about their individual interests and needs, and then in the 3 different scenarios, partner and kids, friends and grandmother, and they should say or tell us their expectations for a destination in a beach region in Egypt and in a mountains region in Germany. In more detail, you can see here our methodology. We used the creative narrative scenario technique in a second step, but before, in the first step, the German and the Egyptian participants, they individually filled out some kind of questionnaire, how they would spend their holidays without any traveling companions. They fill it out for the both destinations, mountain region in Germany and beach region in Egypt, and they were asked to this aspects, to the accommodation, the activities, culture and food, meeting new people, and their reservation and doubts. And in the second step, we are using the scenario workshop. So we put then the people into groups of 3 or 4 persons, and they get a scenario from us. For example, we say, please imagine you would visit German mountain area with your grandmother and work together, make a mind map, be kind of creative. What would you expect again in this aspects, accommodation, activities, and so on? You find them here on the right side. And yeah, this methodology is a good method to find out the wishful aspects and find out some consensus-oriented ideas. All in all, we had 12 Egyptian groups and 14 German groups. As I said, each group 3 to 4 persons, and there were no mixed groups. So the Egyptians were asked and the Germans were asked together. They are not mixed, so they are separated. Okay, and then we can go to the results. Because I was not sure about the time and we have so many results, I focused here on the activities since it is like sports tourism focused. So here you can see from the individual questionnaire, which the participants fill out by themselves by traveling without any companions. We can see that for the destination beach in Egypt, there are mainly the same interests. For especially swimming is the number 1 for German and Egyptian. Secondly, the snorkeling and diving for the Egyptian and beach volleyball for Germany. But all in all, we can see the beach activities are focused here, so there are no big differences, but the German want to visit the pyramids and the cultural heritage. The Egyptians don't mention that. I think it is, as you may also know, when Egyptians make holiday at the beach, they are not maybe thinking about visiting the pyramids in Gizeh. But we have a bit more differentiated picture when we see the destination mountains in Germany. Here, the main activities are also quite the same: hiking and climbing, number one, then biking. But here the Egyptians, they want to do sightseeing, especially visiting the castles. The Germans also want to make some kind of sightseeing also when they are doing holidays in their home country. But they mention here visiting the museums, and before sightseeing they mention snowboarding and skiing. So they focus also on winter sports. The Egyptian, they don't mention the winter sports here at all in the individual questionnaire. When we have a look to the different companionships, we have a more differentiated picture here. So when we have a look first again to the destination beach in Egypt, we can see that beach volleyball, swimming, snorkeling, so this beach water activities are the number one for both nations. And together with friends, they mentioned some kind of chilling or going to shisha bars. So no, not many differences, but again, the Germans like to visit the pyramids. By traveling with partner and children, also not many differences. Beach activities are the focus. The participants here focus on fun for the kids, playing in the sand, snorkeling, and so on. And also both nations show that they slow down a bit the activities when they visit with the grandmother. So here both groups mention walking at the beach, swimming, and the Germans again want to do some kind of cultural program, like some performances. More differentiated again for the destination mountains. Here, number one with the friends is hiking, climbing, and biking again. But as we have seen already with the individual questionnaire, that the Germans again mention here, especially the winter sports. The Egyptians don't mention the winter sports. And also the Germans, they like to do après-ski with the friends, sitting together, have some kind of party lifestyle in the evening. By traveling with partner and children, we can see that the Egyptians focus more on family activities, and they focus more on guided tours, which are suitable for kids. And the German here, they don't mention kids activities at all. They just focus on their sports they want to do. They only add sledging to the winter sports. So this is the only thing which have a bit going to especially for the children. And again, by traveling with the grandmother to the German mountains, also again slow down, means hiking and other slow activities are mentioned here. Egyptians want to make some kind of historical tour, visiting castles, churches, museums, and so on. And the Germans again also want evening events with the grandmother and some kind of wellness, and they mention e-biking here. So for conclusion, I want to again summarize the similarities. We can see that in the field of activities, the main activities are mostly the same between German and Egyptian participants here. They are focusing on fun by traveling with partner and kids for the destination Egypt. For the destination in Germany, the Egyptian focus more on family activities than the German. When people are traveling with their friends, they like to have activities and chilling shisha bars and so on. So also quite similar, and by traveling with grandmother, all focus on slower activities, for both destinations. Here we could see the differences, especially that Egyptians want to do less sightseeing in their own country. Germans, they are doing in the other country and in the home country some kind of sightseeing during the tourism. And the Germans, they divide more in summer and winter sports. So the Egyptian, it seems like they don't have in mind Germany mountain area as a winter sport destination. So maybe with a good marketing, we could do here something for the German mountain destinations to attract people from Egypt, or maybe also from other nations for the winter sports. Because I focused now only on the activities and not of the other aspects like housing and food and meeting new people and the doubts, I only want to give you some selected findings here. So we find some interesting similarities in the field of meeting other people. So all the people from Germany and from Egypt, and independent from the destination, they believe that they mainly meet other people through activities. So here we can see that the activities, sports activities, and also cultural activities are the main point to meet other people. And both nations request local and international food there. So all the people say they want to try the traditional food in the country they are visiting, but especially when they are traveling with kids, they are a bit scared that the children are too picky. So they also like to have some kind of international food. The differences are mainly regarding to the accommodation. We have big differences here. By traveling with friends in Egypt or in the mountains, so very different views here for a good accommodation. But German and Egyptian, they have the same opinion when they travel with the grandmother. They want to have a good hotel with a spa, and this is for the mountain area and for the beach area the same. So here we have the similarity, and we have a big difference regarding to the doubts and regarding to the safety, especially. So Germans are very afraid of the terrorism in Egypt. The Egyptians are not afraid of terrorism in their own country, and also not for Germany. And they in general, they don't have so many doubts or are scared from something. For the destination Germany, mainly the people are scared from the bad weather, that it is maybe too rainy, too windy, or something like this, but no other fears or doubts. And a big topic is also that the Egyptians emphasize the need of halal food. So for them, it would be a problem when they visit some place and no halal food is offered there. So even I could only pick only some results. I think you can see that our findings show that travel decisions are very extensive and complex, and that they are different in the way of the destination which is chosen, and depends also on the companionship. And so the service companies, they have a difficult work to do to know all the different needs and wishes of the guests. And to make them innovative and special offers that they choose their destination and not another one. Okay, thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you very much. And now the questions, please.
Hello, yes, yes, I have a question.
Yes, please.
It may look strange to compare German people or travelers and Egyptians. So could you tell us why you compare those two nations?
Yeah, we have two reasons for this. One of the reasons is that we are good working together for sure with our good partners in Cairo from the Helwan University. So we have a good connection, research connection with Egyptian. And as I mentioned, that it is maybe very interesting to have or to compare two very different kind of nations, but we are also interested to make some research with other nations as well. So I think it's very interesting with every nation, because we can see here that the expectations and the motivation is not the same in every nation. So there are many maybe different cultural background play a role as well, what people expect from their holidays, and it is important to know. And yeah, finally, maybe the two countries, Germany and Egypt, are interesting for tourism in general. Especially, yeah, many Germans are doing some holiday in Egypt, and maybe it would be interesting to attract also the Egyptian people to come to Germany in the mountains. And as we have seen, they don't know much about opportunities in winter sports tourism, for example. So if we know each other better, maybe we can do something quite good in the field of marketing and attract people from this nation.
Yes, thank you. You began to answer to my second question and last question. Is it possible to compare the Egyptian and German tourists? Because I suppose, it's a part of my question, I suppose that there is much more German people going to Egypt than Egyptian going to Germany.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that's maybe the German maybe know already more about making holiday in Egypt, because they have experience already in making holiday in Egypt, or they have friends or family members which talked already about holidays in Egypt. Then the other way around, maybe the Egyptian, they don't have experience in making holidays in the German mountains. So yeah, it's difficult, but again, it's interesting to know that they have maybe a kind of lack of knowledge about the opportunities we have here in Germany for people from Egypt or the Arabic countries there. And if we want to make opportunities for tourists, tourism the whole year, then it could be an interesting group for German destinations to invite these people and make more like advertising and tell them what opportunities they have when they are doing some sports tourism or active tourism in Germany.
Yes, but last part of my question, sorry. Again, is it possible to compare? Because for German people going to Egypt is not so expensive. Somebody having a medium salary can go easily to Egypt. But is it the same for Egyptian people, or is it the higher class who can come to Germany? And so can you compare?
Yeah, it's right. What you say, maybe we have it's maybe for more people possible, more German people possible to make a holiday in Egypt than for the Egyptians to come to Germany. Yeah, you are totally right. I think we can only focus here on a special group of Egyptian. Not the whole population will be possible or will be able to finance maybe a holiday in Germany. Totally true. Yeah.
May I add one thing, because the question is totally right, and Jacqueline already explained very good, but what maybe was not mentioned directly is the people we asked were students from master's degrees, especially, as well as in Germany, as well as in Egypt, and at least the chance to compare those let's say those special groups. So I think there is a big difference still, but the difference between the group, especially the master students in Egypt, there is already also a big difference between this group and maybe a quite big number of other people. For them, might travel to Germany is even not reachable at all. So therefore the idea is also was to have maybe a real big difference between, let's say, a Western established country with a Christian background, and on the other side an Arabic country also established in the field of tourism, but with a huge contrast. In order to get an idea about the expectations, and if there is the contrast still very big or not. And what we could see is, at least in some areas, the difference is not too big. Yeah, with maybe less big than we expected before, and that was really quite interesting for us.
Fine. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. So I have a question concerning the third international conference in Egypt. It will be online or not?
Yeah, you have the opportunity to attend in person or to attend digital. So we will make both possible. And we would be happy if someone is interested and hand in an abstract for the conference, which takes place in Cairo this year. Yeah, in November, in November 2021. Yeah, we can send you the whole call for paper if you like to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Do you have a website for the conference or?
No, we don't have. Or Alex, no, we don't have. But we, yeah, we can send you the call for paper.
Thank you very much. If there is any questions. If not, I want to thank you to the presenters and to the public. And we have a break of 5 minutes. And after that, if you want, there is a session 5 and 6 in room 1 and room 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
4 minutes.
4 minutes, yes.